y'all, so today we're going to cover some basic knife skills that we learned in Module 1 and how to use these in a recipe. And today I'm going to make for you a lentil and orzo salad. We've got our cauliflower in this bowl that we've already roasted. We just put a little bit of olive oil and salt and pepper, 425, just roasted it down until we get some good color. On here you can see it's got some good color on it. All of our cauliflower pieces are cut the same size, which is super important because we want them to cook uniformly. We don't want any big hard pieces or little burnt pieces. We want them to be pretty much all the same. They look pretty good. They've got color on them. They're ready to go for our salad. So next what we've done here is we've got kale, which in our recipe it calls for red chard, which they did not have at the grocery store, so we're subbing kale. And it calls for the stems of the chard, but the kale stems are extremely bitter if you've ever worked with raw kale before, so we left those out. We're just going to use the leaves today, and we've given them a rough chop as well. Whenever you're dealing with raw kale, you want to cut it a little bit smaller than if you were cooking it down, just because it's easier to eat with a fork. So this goes in, dumping that in. So we've also got our orzo pasta, and it's just going to go straight in as well. And next we're going to go in with our lentils. Lentils are great. They're a great source of fiber. If you haven't tried lentils before, this is a great way to start. Mix them in something. These are still a little bit warm, which is fine. So now let's get to using those knife skills. So this is a pint of cherry tomatoes that we have halved. So for tomatoes, you always want to use a serrated knife. This one is just got little tiny marks on it that help you cut through that skin without breaking the tomato and busting it all over the place. You don't want to use your chef's knife for that one because it will put too much pressure on there and it'll bust. So this is our cherry tomatoes. It's a whole pint. So those go in. Let's see what's next. So we've got our green olives. We did a rough chop on these, and the ones that I got, they already came sliced. So it didn't take much work to just give those a rough chop. Just run over them with your chef's knife, so those will go in. These have really good flavor. It gives you some of that like salty brininess in there. It's really good. Okay, so now let's talk about our herbs. Our parsley says rough chop on it. So we pulled our leaves off of our stems and we just gave that a little run through with our chef's knife. You can see some big pieces of those leaves still in there. So that's what a rough chop is going to look like. You'll just run your chef's knife through there. Our dill, it's got a fine chop on it, and so you can still see those pieces of dill in there, but it's definitely smaller than that rough chop. It's not a mince, but it's smaller than the rough chop. Our mint, on the other hand, it is sliced. So you can see those individual sliced pieces in there that we went through with our knife just one time. We went through each leaf. So we're going to get all this in there. And I've got my bench scraper so we don't dull our knife. Herbs go in. These are going to add lots of flavor, lots of color. Then our lemon zest is going to go in. We've just got 2 teaspoons here. Okay, lastly, we're going to add like a little, it's kind of like a dressing, gives you a little more flavor at the end. This is 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And we're going to do half teaspoon chili flakes. I guess you could do more or less depending on how spicy you like stuff. 2 tablespoons of olive oil. This is a perfect dish for lunch, or if you wanted like a side dish with dinner. We're going to add a little salt and pepper in there, and you can season as you go. At the end, if you taste it and you think that needs a little more salt. All right, let's just combine. Once you get everything prepared, it really comes together quickly. Look at this, all the colors. And this could be served at room temperature. You could serve it cold. It can stay a couple days. When I watched the original video on Food Network that they stored it in the fridge a couple days so that these flavors would build, which I think sounds good. And there we have it. So it's an easy way to use some of those knife skills that we've learned. You can do a lot of the prep in advance, cut all your stuff in advance, get it in the fridge. You can have it done in 5 minutes or so. So there we have it.